All right. Hey YouTube, I'm Lucky, and it's time for one of my favorite long-time ongoing series, and that is the Trials Meta Report. This is where we analyze the data and the information from last weekend in Trials to deduce what is the meta inside Destiny 2. And things are getting really spicy in the Destiny 2 sandbox. We have seen a real shift. I mean, for the longest time, it seemed like the IS Luna was the weapon of choice, but now we're starting to see yet another shift back to what it was really at the beginning, right after the changes went through with the sandbox. Here we go. The number one most used weapon on the map, Twilight Gap. And let me know down in the comment section below, what do you think about the map Twilight Gap? The number one most used weapon was the Chaperone shotgun. So a lot of people out there aping. I would say this, the Chaperone is probably the strongest weapon, especially for controller, especially if you're hanging out on like the inside of the building, you know, on the other side of B, you're sort of lurking around in those hallways. The Chaperone absolutely doing work over there. Literally almost put up 1 million kills this last weekend. The Dead Man's Tale. Oh, the number of teams I faced that had 3 of these on. Sitting in the back, next to that rock. You know exactly what I'm talking about. They're sitting in the back next to that rock, just spamming away in their little healing rifts and powering rifts, whatever it may be. The Dead Man's Tale was an absolute plague. And these two weapons right here are so strong in the current sandbox. I get the feeling every time I play a team that has Dead Man's Tale, like I can't really play against them unless I put on the Dead Man's Tale myself, which feels horrible because I don't want to use that weapon. I want to use the weapon I'm trying to use for the day, like something new, unique, interesting. But every time I face someone that has DMT on, they're so far back, they're out of my range, and they just melt me so fast. I just can't, I feel like I can't use anything else but the DMT. Let me know if you agree or disagree with that in the comments below. I'll be reading those comments. The number 3 most used weapon, the Apes Never Stop, Felwinter's Lie, number 3 right there. Obviously that pairs really well with the Dead Man's Tale, so I can see the reason why that's there. You know, if you're rocking the DMT, if you have to push up for whatever reason, you're going to push inside. Try to get a kill, close range. The Felwinter's Lie pairs perfectly with that. Then we have the IS Luna. Again, this weapon has been in the number 1 slot week after week after week. It only fell to the number 4 slot. It's still a very strong weapon. Clearly the meta when it comes to 140 RPM and cannons. Number 5 goes to the main ingredient, and most specifically, Xur's main ingredient. Obviously, this thing is such a good role. Ever since he brought this weapon has been shining in the top 10. If you haven't been using that role, I feel bad for you because that thing is so good. What you can do right now is you can do the Dares of Eternity this week. I'm going to make an updated video talking about this. You can do the Dares of Eternity this week because the main ingredient will drop from that. You can go talk to the Star Horse and pick up those engrams, and it will literally drop a main ingredient for you. So if you didn't get Xur's roll, you can at least try and get a decent roll, and I'll give a full updated God roll guide on this because the main ingredient that Xur brought is like almost perfect, but you could actually get a slightly better roll. Moving on to the next one, the Palindrome Adept. This thing has such crazy base stats. No surprises there. This is probably the main weapon that's being paired with the number 1 most used weapon, the Chaperone. If you're running around aping with that Chaperone on, you got to use something maybe more mid-range, and that would be the Palindrome obviously from the top 10 selections here at least. The number 7 most used weapon is the 7th Seraph CQC. What are you doing in here? How did you get up here, 7th Seraph? I don't know what just happened. Did I miss something? Am I out of the loop? I thought I'm supposed to be reporting the news. How did the 7th Seraph squeak all the way up here? That's crazy. I don't understand where that came from, but again, a lot of aping this weekend with the Chaperone, the Felwinter, the 7th Seraph, and I see you down there, Matador. I see you. We'll get to you in just a moment. Number 8 is the last word. Of course, this thing is so beast, so strong, and so many people have made this argument. I don't know what it is. Bungie devs have mentioned this as well. They're like, the last word doesn't get that much usage in PvP. It doesn't need to be nerfed. My ass, the reason why the last word isn't number 1 and have over 1 million kills is because this weapon is like unusable on mouse and keyboard. But on controller, this thing is unstoppable. It is literally night and day difference between the two. I've made a video comparison showing this, how literally shooting the last word with just by clicking the controller button gets you headshots, whereas if you click a mouse, it gets body shots. The last word is ridiculously potent on controller. It's not the number 1 most used weapon simply because it's not nearly as strong on mouse and keyboard. That's my opinion, though. You can feel free to roast me in the comments down below, but I think almost everyone can agree with that opinion at this point in time. You just don't see mouse and keyboard users running around with the last word, and you see controller players running around with it, and they absolutely melt faces with it. And good for them. I mean, there should be some balance to the sandbox where controllers and certain weapons work better, and mouse and keyboard and certain weapons work better because that's just the way the sandbox is going to work if you want it to be diverse and balanced. The number 9 weapon, Matador 64. I see you there, squeaking in. Wow, that is a lot of shotguns in the top 10. The Chaperone, the Fellwinter, the 7th Seraph, and the Matador. Sheesh! A lot of people are out there aping on the Twilight Gap. And for good reason, because there's so many different tight corridors and level changes. I can see why people would want to ape. It makes sense. But besides the aping, apparently the Lawrence Driver did squeak in there in the number 10 spot. This thing is so good. I'm telling you, whatever next week's Trials map is going to be, you're going to see the Lawrence Driver in the top 10. As long as it's not like Endless Veil, like super tight corridors, the Lawrence Driver is going to be like top 5 from next weekend. If it's a mid-range map, if it's a long-range map, it's going to be like top 3. The Lawrence Driver is so ridiculously powerful in the current sandbox, and it is a pain for me to fight against it. I don't want to use this weapon at all, but some of you out there having fun with it, and good on you. You know, use something different. You know, not everyone has to run around with a hand cannon and a shotgun 24/7, okay? I get it. Not everyone wants to have that same playstyle. We've been doing that for 7 years now. I'm not going to hate on you too much if you love the Lawrence Driver, or even the DMT for that matter, okay? Sometimes it's okay to have a little bit of diversity in the sandbox. And we do have, I mean, looking at the entire list here in the top 10, we do have a pretty diverse sandbox, minus the excessive amount of shotguns, but we do have a pretty decently diverse sandbox. We've got a slug shotgun, a scout rifle, a pellet shotgun, a 140 RPM hand cannon, a fusion rifle, another 140 RPM hand cannon, a pellet shotgun, a 220 RPM hand cannon. I don't even know if you can call that a hand cannon. That's practically a sidearm. Another pellet shotgun, and then a linear fusion rifle. So that's a decently diverse sandbox, in my opinion. I think Bungie's done a pretty good job overall. The population of Trials, though, is diminishing pretty far. We're down to 230,000 players, minus 7% from last weekend. And from now until the Witch Queen, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. I feel like we're probably going to dip below 200,000, but, you know, there's a good thing with that, because back in the day, I've mentioned this many times, and it's been a long time since I said it, but back in the day when Trials was truly abysmal and terrible and no one was playing it, it was in Destiny 2 Year 1, back with the double primary meta. Trials went from 1 million player base its first week all the way down to 50,000 players. That's how bad it was. So for Trials to go from 750,000, 6-month-long season, decent content drought, all the way down to 200,000 probably by the Witch Queen, I would assume. Not that bad. Not as bad as 50,000 at least. So Bungie will probably take, you know, a little kudos from that. They did a good Trials revamp, okay? You have to agree, no matter who you are, where you're from, if you did play Trials before the revamp, you know that revamp did a lot of good to the game. I mean, I am genuinely having a lot more fun in Trials. There's still pain points, of course. You know, there's certain weapons you don't like. There's certain playstyles you don't like. There's still things like, I mean, in my opinion, I think that healing rifts are kind of ridiculous LP, but, you know, the improvements are just so drastic from before the revamp that I can't complain too much, because I just remember how dark it was during those days, during the cheater days, with people and their provokers and they're getting headshot and infinitely respawning and infinitely firing power ammo at me. The revamp has been good. Trials has been good lately, even if the player base dips down below 200,000. The Witch Queen 2022 is meant to be a big year. I'm excited. The Summoner returns with the Witch Queen, if you didn't see that other video with the TWAP today. So that's exciting. We got stuff to look forward to. That's the Trials meta report. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Make sure to subscribe with notifications on if you did enjoy. Smash the like button. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Later.